The night her marriage ended, Amora did not cry immediately. She stood in the kitchen, one hand still holding the spoon she had been using to stir soup for dinner, while Ton, her husband of 7 years, stood by the doorway with his car keys in his hand. His voice had been calm. Too calm.
Amara, we need to talk.
Can you wait? The soup is almost...
I love you as the mother of our son, but not as a woman anymore.
The spoon slipped from her fingers and hit the pot with a sharp metallic sound. For a second, she honestly thought he was joking. Dinner was still on the stove. Their son, Ethan, was asleep in the next room. The television was on low volume in the sitting room. Nothing about the house looked like a place where a marriage was dying.
What I asked.
Amora blinked.
What does that mean?
We've been pretending for a long time.
Pretending?
It's not real anymore.
We were fine.
Fine isn't love.
The word cut deeper than the confession itself. That night, after he left with an overnight bag and a silence too heavy to fight, Amora sat on the cold kitchen floor.
For now.
The tiles pressed against her legs as she wrapped her arms around herself. The soup burned. She didn't move. The phone call. Her mother picked up on the second ring. Amora had barely said hello before the woman sighed dramatically.
Mommy.
I told you. I said that man was not right for you.
Mommy, I just...
Nobody listened to me.
She hung up without another word. The silence afterward felt even louder. Then, an hour later, her phone rang again. The screen read. Mommy turned. Her mother-in-law. She answered, bracing herself. But instead of questions about the separation, the older woman simply asked.
Hello, Ma.
Have you eaten?
I'm not hungry.
Then the woman said firmly. That is not what I asked. For the first time that night, Amora let out a broken laugh. The first Wednesday. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Standing there was Mama Tond, dressed in a simple wrapper and blouse, holding 2 covered bowls and a loaf of bread. She walked in like she had always belonged there.
Ma,
Move, she said gently when Amora tried to protest. She placed the food on the kitchen counter, uncovered steaming jollof rice and stew, and began arranging plates. Not once did she mention Tond. Not once did she ask what happened. Instead, she talked about the woman at church.
Do you know someone wore 2 left shoes to church yesterday?
About the rising price of tomatoes.
Complete confidence. No shame. Eat your food.
About the neighbor's dog that barked at motorcycles. It was nothing important. Just noise. Beautiful, ordinary noise that kept the apartment from swallowing Amora whole. For 2 hours, the older woman filled the space with life. Before leaving, she stood at the door and adjusted her handbag. I'll come back on Wednesday. And she did. Every Wednesday. She came back every Wednesday for 2 months. Sometimes with soup. Sometimes with fruit. Sometimes with absolutely nothing except herself. She would sit at the kitchen table while Ethan did homework. She would tell stories about Ton as a mischievous boy, stories that somehow made Amora laugh instead of cry. One Wednesday, while folding Ethan's school uniform, Amora finally asked the question that had been sitting in her chest.
Why are you doing this?
Because pain should never be lonely.
My son made a choice. That choice is his burden. But you? She reached across the table and touched Amora's hand. You are still family. That was the day Amora cried. Not because of Tond. But because kindness from an unexpected place hurts in the sweetest way. The healing. Slowly, life began again. Amora returned to her tailoring business, something she had neglected during the marriage. She started sewing dresses again, bright colors, elegant cuts, the kind that made women look at themselves and smile. Mama Tond became her biggest supporter. She brought customers, neighbors, church women, friends. One afternoon she proudly announced,
"The senator's wife is coming next, my daughter."
Mama, you know everybody.
I know people, don't worry, my dear.
For the first time in months, Amora began to feel like herself. Not somebody's wife. Not somebody left behind. Just Amora. Strong. Talented. Whole. 3 months later, Ton returned. Not with flowers. Not with apologies. Just with regret written across his face. He stood in the doorway, watching Ethan play on the floor. Then his eyes found
You
Amara.
look different.
Oh, did I?
I made a mistake.
I thought leaving would make things clearer. But I miss this home. I miss us. Before she could respond, another voice came from behind him. Mama Ton had arrived early for Wednesday. She stepped inside, looked from her son to Amara, and immediately understood. The room became still. Ton turned to his mother.
I
Mom.
miss this home.
She raised a hand.
Mom!
Don't use me.
Use me. If you
Her
broke
voice was
something,
calm
fix
but
it
sharp.
yourself.
If you broke something, fix it with your own hands. Then she walked past him into the kitchen like it was any other Wednesday. Amara almost smiled. That night, after Ethan slept, Ton sat across from her. He apologized. For his words. For leaving. For mistaking peace for emptiness. For not realizing what he had until silence taught him. Amara listened. And then she said softly,
I survived because your mother chose kindness over loyalty.
I'm sorry for everything. I didn't understand what I had.
Then Amara stood. I forgive you. Hope flashed in his eyes. But she shook her head.
But forgiveness is not return. I don't love you less, I just love myself more now.
1 year later. Amora's tailoring brand, Wednesday Woman, had become one of the most talked about fashion labels in Lagos. The name was inspired by the woman who never stopped showing up. At the grand opening of her boutique, the ribbon was not cut by a celebrity. It was cut by Mama Ton.
to cut the ribbon
The older woman stood proudly beside
always
her,
knew you
eyes
would
shining with
rise.
tears.
because you never stopped
I
showing
always
up.
knew you would rise, she whispered. Amora smiled and squeezed her hand. Because every Wednesday, someone reminded me I still could. The camera pulls back. The boutique lights glow warmly. Ethan runs around laughing. Mama Ton and Amora stand side by side, not by blood, not by marriage, but by choice. A family rewritten by kindness.
Please follow me, like my videos, comment on my videos, share my videos, and God go bless you.